Moving over to the lightweight division now, we got Michael Johnson coming in at plus 135, going up against Alexander Hernandez, who comes in at minus 155. Now, starting off on the Johnson side of things, he is on a 3-fight winning streak for the first time in 11 years. It is crazy, the resurgence he's had at 39 years old. I think he's going to be 40 in a couple months here. He's very much dialed in. Even during that run between August 2015 to May 2023, he went 5-11. And he had 3 and 4 fight losing streaks sprinkled in throughout that run. But even in those fights where he lost, he was looking good in some of them, right? There was just some fight IQ issues that he had, playing jiu-jitsu with better jiu-jitsu specialists. I think Thiago Moises was one of those instances, or his durability just not holding up and him getting clipped and put away. So those are things to kind of consider. But in his last couple of fights, he's looked very dialed in and looked very good. Darius Flowers, he should have finished him, but he really wanted to mix it up with his grappling. Couldn't get the submission, but was still doing a good job in terms of wearing Flowers down there. Otman Azaitar finished him in the second round. That was a nasty knockout. And then the Zal Huber fight, great first 2 rounds. The third round, it seemed like he was slowing down a little bit. His movement was starting to become a little bit compromised. But luckily for him, Zal Huber was unable to land anything of significance in that third round to get the finish. Thus, Johnson goes out there, picks up a big upset victory, and sends the youngster down a few notches again. But Johnson, his speed is there. His striking is there. His durability, was there for the last couple of fights, but it's one of those spots that could just vanish at any moment. So that's something you always have to take into consideration, especially with him coming closer to 40 years old now, especially in the lightweight division. We know that's really not going to cut it nowadays. But as of right now, last couple of fights been looking really good, especially very sharp with his striking game. Now he's going up against Alexander Hernandez, who's similar to Michael Johnson. It's been 10 years since the last time Alexander Hernandez was on a 4-fight winning streak, and now he's looking to notch his 5th this weekend. He started off with a split decision win over Austin Hubbard, had a very dominant showcase over Kurt Holloway where he out-grappled him. Then he had that nasty knockout victory over Chase Hooper, and then he followed it up with another nasty knockout victory over Diego Fajeda. That was a fight where he made a very quick turnaround because the fight against Fajeda was in San Antonio, Texas, where he's originally from. It was interesting because if you watch the Diego Fajeda fight, a lot of the commentators were saying that, Diego Fajeda is probably winning this fight. Alexander Hernandez is just in perpetual movement, moving laterally, moving backwards, and Fajeda was the one pushing the pressure. And even the live odds midway through round 2 had Fajeda up at minus 200. But once Hernandez got the knockout, yeah, he won. But when you look at the scorecards, all 3 judges scored that first round for Hernandez. So it looked like he was doing better work in the judges' eyes, even while moving backwards and blitzing forward with a couple big strikes whenever Fajeda wasn't really paying attention or was, kind of just overlooking whatever Hernandez was doing. Hernandez, very athletic, very gifted in terms of his power, his speed, his explosivity. That's obviously on display over his last 2 fights against Hooper and Fajeda. But he's one of those guys that seems to be not the best minute winner, right? Like, unless he can go out there and out-grapple you and keep you on your back, like he did against Kurt Holloway, it's kind of hard for him to really win minutes. Like, I know he did well against Fajeda, but I really think Fajeda was starting to slow down. Didn't really have an answer for that perpetual movement that Hernandez was in. If he cut the cage a little bit more and threw some more strikes, maybe he was going to be able to get more successful. And the other question becomes, how successful was Hernandez going to continue to be with that style? Because inevitably he was going to start to slow down, right? That type of style is very hard to keep up with. But, good for both these guys, Hernandez and Johnson, who are kind of afterthoughts now in their career. 3-fight and 4-fight winning streak respectively for these guys. Now, in terms of how they match up, technically speaking, I think Michael Johnson is the better fighter. He could go out there and do what he did in his last matchup against Zal Huber, stick and move, land the better strikes. He might have a little bit of a speed advantage still, but that power of Hernandez is the ultimate, difference maker. That is what can really keep him in this fight. If he can land that counter against Johnson, and all he needs is one. right? We know that Johnson might not be able to eat these big shots. The issue that I have with playing Hernandez at minus 155 with that scenario that I just laid out for you guys, it's hard to play a favorite who has to lean on that one thing to try to get his win. Can he out-wrestle Michael Johnson? I don't think so. I think Johnson will stuff the takedowns or at least work back to his feet. And then from there, I think he'll get off on the better strikes. But we know there are going to be repeated moments throughout this fight where Hernandez is going to land a big shot and one of them might put Johnson out. But if, it's one of those nights where Johnson can eat those shots, Johnson might be the better minute winner here and he might be able to pull off the upset. So in terms of a prediction, it's hard to overlook the power advantage of Hernandez. I'm going to go Hernandez here and Hernandez by knockout. Very low confidence level, though. This is one of those spots you got to bank on him landing that big shot. Otherwise, Johnson probably just outstrikes him for 2 or 3 rounds and wins the fight on the scorecards. But in terms of an official prediction, I am going to go Hernandez by knockout. Not banging on anybody taking the plus money on Johnson either, though.